What's good, guys? So today for you, I have a Sky Striker deck. Me and my boy Edwin theoried on it. I asked him a lot about this deck because I know he's an expert on it, and he's been really hyped because the ban list we just got gave us Widow Anchor back. We both do believe this is a contender. This is right underneath tier 1, maybe top of tier 2 type of deck right now. Let's get on with the list. And we also have a new Link monster that's actually kind of crazy. So 3 Sky Striker Ace Ray, 2 Rose. Rose is relatively new, but you do have to play it because you need the monster count to be a little higher. One of the biggest issues for this deck, and always has been, is you don't have a play. You just pass on nothing. If this deck can get started, it is one of the strongest like grind decks in the game. It just like outgrinds literally anything, and even without engage, the deck still can do some crazy things. And then hand traps. This is a control deck, so we're gonna play a bunch of hand traps, and this is for the ban list after April. So we're gonna see a lot of decks playing needle fiber combo decks, dinosaurs, lots of things that you're gonna want to stop when you're playing these lower ceiling decks. So 12 hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 DD Crow, 3 Nibiru, 3 Phantasme. The Nibiru and Phantasme in particular are very interesting. This is a take from my boy. He is playing these cards because now that we have Zeke, we can utilize these cards again, because in previous Sky Striker decks, if you played these cards, it was very awkward to get your Sky Striker cards going because you have to have an empty field, but you could always just clear it off because Sky Striker Ace Zeke is generic, and any monster plus any Sky Striker monster plus any token, anything can just make Zeke, and then you could pivot into the other Sky Striker links. So I think going forward, you'll be able to play some interesting cards again in Sky Strikers. And because we're going into a combo format, Nibiru is about to be crazy. And Phantasme, just because we're hitting MR5 does not mean Phantasme is going to be bad. The best monsters in the extra deck are still going to be Links. The Needle Fiber is crazy. There's the Predaplan monster. There's going to be a bunch of crazy Link monsters. So Phantasme is not going anywhere, and it just got reprinted. It's still really good. I would definitely recommend trying to play it in this deck. Also because it gives you another chance to get your play started. And this deck, the only issue for this deck is literally just that turn 1, making sure you don't pass on nothing. And then the spells, relatively simple. Upstart, Reinforcement, Terraforming. And then the 3 Area 0, because we're going for consistency. We don't need to play other things. We're going for all these Sky Striker cards, heavy count, it's good. 2 Widow Anchor, 2 Shark Cannon, 1 Roll, 1 Drones, and then 1 Hercules base. Then 1 Afterburners, 1 Jamming Waves. Very like consistent package, like nothing new, nothing spicy. I don't think you need to do anything crazy with this deck. This deck is still strong even with that engage, and relatively speaking, all the other decks were also weaker, so I don't think you need engage in this deck to make it function. Kagari is still a crazy card, and we still have Kagari at 3. Shizuku is crazy. The resources are still there to like make a good field. It's just not like crazy. You don't have engage draw 1 every single turn. And then the goods, Metal Force Fusion, like I said, you're going for consistency. And then something interesting that we decided to play, the 3 enemy controller, and it's to go with the Phantasme Nibiru enemy controller. Like it's all supposed to be played together because Phantasme is just going to give you a chance to see Nibiru or enemy controller. And this deck is just so good at breaking boards and going first or second. The deck is set up to go first, but enemy controller is just a crazy card right now, because we will be either putting tokens onto our field or rows or extra monsters, Phantasme, that an enemy controller can really be utilized effectively. And I think enemy controller has been insane. It's a flex spot. You guys can try it. And then the 2 Mystical Space Typhoon. You kind of always just played Mystical Space Typhoon in this deck because you had a chance to like hit area 0, and you could use it offensively, defensively. It's just like another flex spot. You guys can figure it out. But right now, I think enemy controller is crazy, and there's a lot of synergy to be talked about with the Nibiru Phantasme enemy controller right there. And then we'll go into the extra deck. The 3 Kagari, 3 Hayate, 3 Shizuku, 1 Kaina, all standard. And then the new one, Sky Striker Ace Zeke. Maybe we would think about playing more, but extra deck is so tight in this deck. Let me just go over what it essentially does. When this card's Link Summon and it's generic, that's the main thing about this card that I didn't realize was so crazy, how generic it is. It lets you just do things in Sky Strikers that you were never allowed to do before. But on summon, you're going to target a card and just banish it until the opponent's next turn. So that's crazy. You have now spot removal in the form of a Link monster, and you never really had that. And then it has another effect where you could target, one card you control. This card gains 1,000 attack, and then the targeted card goes to graveyard. So you could send cards such as Area Zero. It's a really good card, really underrated. I'm happy we got this card, and I think Skystrikers are definitely gonna see play. If there was regionals going around, I would definitely think this is in the format. This definitely would be able to get an easy invite, maybe even a top 8. I definitely think this is a good deck going forward, and it's always just had like the biggest strength about this deck is utility. It can literally do anything. It can get out of any situation, and it doesn't have a bad matchup. The only thing this deck really just loses to has always been things like anti-spell or order. It's very hard to grind with this deck, and it's one of those decks that just either it gets going or just loses to itself. It never feels like it really loses to another deck, and now that the decks are weaker, I do think this is a good choice to play, especially because I know a lot of people love this deck so much. The people that are good on this deck are just so crazy on this deck. And then the utility link monsters, Nightmare Phoenix, Unicorn, Topological Bomber Dragon, and the Borosor Dragon. Very standard stuff here, guys. And then the side deck, this very simple side deck. You guys can change it around with the side. Like I said, I'm always going to just give you guys a staple side deck to work with. And to start off, Scythe, Sanctum. Like I said before, now we can play things like Scythe again because we can make Zeke with it. It's not a problem playing these monsters in the main monster zone. And then 3 Summon Limit, 3 Cosmic, 3 Shared Ride. Shared Ride's kind of interesting right now. Going forward, I think Shared Ride's going to pick up in popularity. My friends do think the same as well. And then 2 Mind Control. Mind Control is good too. And like I said, Zeke. The whole entire concept of the deck is to revolve around being able to make Zeke very freely, and having the Biru Phantasman like an insane matchup against combo decks. So this is just a very simple template you guys could like base your Skystriker decks off of. But I definitely do think getting Widowmaker back is a huge deal, and people should not be sleeping on it. When I was testing with this deck, I was just like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, it can just go. It can go. And as long as the opponent doesn't have a crazy combo deck and you're just grinding, this deck is just a master at grinding. So guys, let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any other cool ways to play the Sky Striker deck, but now with Widowmaker back, I think this deck is genuinely back. Maybe not like with like tier 1, but the like top of tier 2. It has to be, just because like this deck, even after losing Engage, it's just still, it boggles my mind how crazy this deck still is. But yeah, stay tuned for more, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think.